Thank you for being with us. Now at noon, we're tracking Tropical Storm Nicole, now aiming toward the panhandle of Florida. The system's moving away from central Florida, but heavy rain and wind continue impacting several counties, especially along our coastal areas. And we're staying on top of some breaking news in Orange County as well, where firefighters told us a second person was shocked and killed by downed power lines. And the other person died at the scene earlier this morning when the incident was first reported. The fire department says it happened near Bayfront Parkway and Pershing Avenue in the Conway area of Orlando. So far, investigators have not told us their ages or identities, but when we get those updates, we'll have them for you here on the air and on clickorlando.com. So thanks for being with us for this continuing coverage. I'm Bridget Ellison.
And I'm Justin Mormith. We have a team of meteorologists, of course, standing by with latest updates on Nicole's track. Let's start with meteorologist Troy Bridges. Getting closer to getting into the Gulf of Mexico, Troy.
Yeah, we'd like to push this thing out of here altogether. The problem is, as we've been talking about it, it's just so expansive and so big that it has continued to bring those relentless waves across central Florida along our coast. For Volusia, Flagler, Brevard, we've seen seas up to about 20 feet, and we continue to. But eventually, this is going to push into the Gulf of Mexico, the official track, then takes it up into Georgia. So it's going to take a while. It'll be late tonight before this thing actually moves up and away from Florida altogether, and that's why we're going to continue with high seas for the next few hours, as well as those strong winds greater than 40 miles per hour for much of central Florida. These are the wave heights, close to 20 feet just off the coast. Many areas close to our coast, as we talk about Flagler County's coast, Volusia's coast, and all of Brevard's coast, we're talking about nearly 15 to 20 feet high waves. And so as those continue to relentlessly come along the coast, they are pulling away our beaches, and of course houses have fallen into the ocean. There are the winds gusting greater than 40 miles per hour for a large part of central Florida. As I show you that, you'll see that the winds are at 46 hour in Orlando right now, 47 mile per hour winds in Sanford. We're seeing 31 mile per hour wind gusts in Daytona Beach, 37 in Melbourne, 43 in Leesburg, 38 in Ocala. So again, as it approaches 40 miles per hour, that is tropical storm force. So plenty of that, and sustained winds are certainly high at close to 30 to even 40 miles per hour in some spots, including Orlando. So the wind will continue to kick up. Also some rain, but not nearly as much as we've seen. You see a little bit of light rain for Palm Coast down to Daytona Beach, but watch the trend here. We've seen it weaken considerably, the heaviest of the rain as we talk about it closer to areas down to the south and west of Lake County and Sumter County. So a little bit in the villages up to Ocala, but not nearly as much as we've seen. Still at Popka and downtown Orlando seeing a few showers. Let's bring in meteorologist Candace Campos with more on the history of this storm.
Yeah, what it was Hurricane Nicole made its way onshore early this morning at 3 a.m. off of North Hutchinson Island, that's near Vero Beach, as a Category 1 hurricane. And although hurricanes in November are rare, we have had 3, according to our records. Last Florida hurricane landfall in November was Hurricane Kate, set back in 1985. It was a Category 2 storm, and it approached the Panhandle there. Watches and warnings, we are still in a tropical storm warning for all of Central Florida. As we were just showing you, those wind gusts still picking up, still tropical storm force winds over about 39 miles per hour. We're not expecting hurricane force winds, hence why all those hurricane warnings have been discontinued since then. Rainfall rates, we've been seeing a lot of rain in the past couple of hours, racking up between about 1 to 5 inches of rain. Not much more than that. Of course, a few isolated amounts, but widespread, the spread is about 1 to 5 inches. You can see over 4.5 inches of rain for areas of Orlando, 5.5 inches there in West Palm Beach, a little less in Chuliota, Oak Hill, and Castleberry. But these are some of the main spots that we've seen the most rain, and it's almost been the most rain since in the entire state of Florida. So we certainly do not need any more rain after Hurricane Ian, and it looks like we're, of course, received a lot of it throughout the last couple of hours. Also, one big concern, of course, is the rising waters. We still have a lot of our lakes that are either at a moderate or minor flood stage, and it looks like the St. Johns River is expected to crest at about 4.3 throughout today and into early tomorrow morning, and then it looks like it will start to come down again, down to about 4.1, back into below the major flood stage. But unfortunately, it looks like we will be above that flood stage for a few days. All right, let's see how our hour-by-hour forecast looks like. When conditions will really start to improve is meteorologist Julie Broughton.
Candace, let's go ahead and check out the future radar for you. We can check out our clouds and rain forecast as we move through the rest of the afternoon. There's how it looks as we go in a little bit closer for you. There's the clock at the top starting right about now. You can see still some of those light showers rotating through, but notice how we do begin to lessen the coverage of rain as we move through the next several hours. Stopping the clock for you at 4:30 this afternoon. A lot of that rain moves out, but we will still see some showers rotating through as we head through around 7:30. The cloud cover remains very thick for us throughout the day today and into the evening and even overnight hours. You'll notice tonight at 11:30, still a mostly cloudy sky before starting to see some of those clouds breaking by around 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then as we head through the day tomorrow, still clouds pretty thick. We can't rule out a few isolated showers tomorrow, but overall tomorrow should be much drier than we've seen today. And we'll see the weather improving with the strongest winds moving to the west as we head through the afternoon hours. We will, of course, be here with you through it all. Now we'll send it back to Justin and Bridget.
Thank you, Julie. And yes, the storm is moving west, but we are getting new pictures from Flagler County showing parts of A1A that have collapsed due to the relentless waves from Tropical Storm Nicole. The sheriff's office sharing these pictures on social media saying part of that road is now closed. Just take a look at that, just eating it up. They added that this is just one of the reasons that they are pleading with people to stay off the barrier island until the storm finally gets out of here and passes through Central Florida.
Yes, there's definitely the most work to be done at the beaches right now. And we want to go out to Volusia County, where 7 structures that we know of in Wilbur by the Sea have collapsed into the ocean.
Just in Wilbur by the Sea. That is such a small portion of that community. The rough surf, storm surge just pounding the coastline. News 6's Molly Reed joins us now live. She has been out there yesterday, Molly. I know we were talking about potential for this happening. We were hoping for the best. Obviously, there was nothing that these homes could really do with how much they sustained from Ian and, of course, all of the wind and powerful waves hitting from this storm.
Absolutely, Justin. I mean, yeah, we were talking about these houses yesterday. We were inside some of these houses, and now the backs of them are just gone. Half of the houses are gone. Actually, where we're standing right now is on a balcony, and if you can imagine, out of those 7 structures, we're on like a little peninsula right now. There's 3 houses that way and several this way that have just demolished now out of the backs of this gray house. We were inside yesterday, standing on the floor that is not even there anymore, crashed into the ocean. But as you were saying, this relentless, the waves, it has been happening all day. If you zoom in down there, that pool, I want to show you the bottom poles down there. Just the first 2 poles were showing at 8 a.m. this morning. That shows you how much has already been eaten away in the last 3 hours. And we still have 2 houses standing out there. That white one, I mean, if it still goes, you can see a bunch of furniture is already fallen in. So the back of that one now fallen in. Several houses here, all gone. And then the first 2 up there, gone as well. We've been talking about these mandatory evacuations. This is why they want them evacuated. We're also hearing now up in Daytona Beach Shores, just a few miles north of here, several more condo buildings are being evacuated, bringing the total to 15 because those are at high risk now of collapsing. So while the storm has really started moved through the area, the problems here in Volusia have really started within the last couple hours as we are seeing more and more properties going down. So, you know, this is why the sheriff's office, they are going out. The deputies are trying to get people out of these buildings before it's too late. Thankfully, with these people, they were able to evacuate yesterday. Some of them, like the owner of this gray house, the property manager was telling me was still here up until early yesterday afternoon. They got him out saying, we know it's your house. We know you love it, but it's really coming down to your safety. Obviously, you can see that. We were also talking to another homeowner a few houses down. Really, all that's left of his house is the front facade. You just see that main wall, a couple feet left, and that is it. And he said he was there yesterday, too, up until early afternoon. But again, these are getting worse and worse as the day goes on. Again, at 8 a.m., there was still a good amount of land beneath some of these buildings, and it is just coming in. So that is why, again, they are trying to get people off the area. They do not want anyone around the area right now because, as you can see, as the wind's still going, there's also parts going flying from these houses. So it's just not a good idea. We're now to be driving around, especially checking things out. They really are trying to get everyone out of especially Wilbur and Daytona Beach shores. Back to you guys.
Absolutely heartbreaking to see those images. Such a beautiful beach and a beautiful stretch of beach as it gets into Ponce Inlet from there. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and we wish those folks who do live along the beach and love their homes on the beach, we wish them the best. The city of Orlando giving an update also on Tropical Storm Nicole.
That's right. Leaders saying the storm is still impacting areas and the residents. They're urging people to stay indoors until all of this has passed and died down. They say Tropical Storm Nicole brought 4.5 to 5 inches of rain into the city. They say as a result of the heavy rains, they're requesting residents limit water use as much as possible. And a number of people are also without power. The city said OUC crews are in the process of restoring power where they can. Residential storm debris pickup will pick back up tomorrow.
And of course, those road conditions are still rough with all the rain, all the wind, and especially along the coast, you're seeing all those roadways give out, buckle, and wash away.
Yes, I mean, there's a whole lot going on out there. News 6 traffic safety expert Trooper Steve is standing by with the latest updates.
There is so much going across Central Florida right now, from Flagler down to South Osceola County. It's hard to get to everything, but some good news. All lanes of the Florida Turnpike back open southbound, but what is required in a situation like this? The Florida Move Over Law. So even though all lanes are back, just like this car is doing southbound right now, clearing that that right travel lane, moving into the left lane, we need everyone to make sure that your safety is total here. Every situation is different, and the roadways all across Central Florida, not the best. So we are in really nice shape along the Turnpike now, and we do have some ramps closed along I-4. So eastbound to Central Florida Parkway still closed. I believe we got the sheriff's office out there. Surprisingly, 408 looking really good. Winter Garden, Ocoee, we do have some issues here. So northbound 429 to exit to State Road 50, your ramp is closed there for some flooding. And like Justin and Bridget were just mentioning just a second ago, we are seeing some erosion from our roadways here along A1A and Flagler Beach, even further south in Volusia County along Daytona and Seabreeze area, and now along New Smyrna and State Road 44 east of US 1. So as you're out and about this morning or this afternoon, sorry, we are seeing some issues. Those issues will continue. Stick with us. We'll keep you informed. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Trooper Steve. And live team coverage of the tropical storm continues.
When we come back, we're going to head to Brevard County, where crews are out assessing the damage. And speaking of, here's a live look from, well, this is actually downtown Orlando. You can see some rain still on the lens, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back in. It's 12:15 in Brevard County. First responders are out assessing damage from Tropical Storm Nicole. The storm has really eroded the shoreline.
And it was already eroded from Hurricane Ian. News 6's James Barbero joins us now live in Melbourne Beach with a look at the aftermath of these powerful waves. James, you are the closest vantage point to where the storm actually made landfall.
We're standing right now just 28 miles north at Ponce de Leon Landing, Justin and Bridget, from where Hurricane Nicole made that landfall in Indian River County. And we were standing on this same beach access last night as we watched that beach erosion in progress. We watched these waves, the ocean has receded since then, crash very hard. And you just see what's left now, absolute cliffs here at Ponce de Leon Landing. Some of those with metal detectors that are looking for anything they can find. They tell us they think this is the worst of the erosion that they've seen in all of South Brevard beaches. It certainly looks like it right now. The other side of the beach access looking to the north, it's even steeper right here. And we talked so much how the county was already pursuing an $8.5 million beach renourishment project following Hurricane Ian just 6 weeks ago. And they're going to have to come out here and assess the damage now and tally up some more losses as they'll try to rebuild this beach before the next sea turtle nesting season in the spring. Now on your camera right now, on your screen, you can see that some are treasure hunters, some are just looking for anything. A few miles south of here, close to Sebastian Inlet, where a shipwreck was found back in the 1950s of the 1715 Spanish treasure fleet. There were some treasure hunters there earlier who showed us some Spanish coins they were finding, Justin and Bridget. They think each one of those coins could be worth $400, so a single coin worth $400. You find enough of them on the beach after a shipwreck, you're going to make yourself a pretty good amount of money. You go to the jeweler or a pawn shop. So that's why there's just A lot of people with metal detectors up and down the South Brevard beaches. Melbourne Beach has its reputation for treasure hunting since that first shipwreck was found that I mentioned. And a lot of these treasure hunting experts, they know that there's still treasure out there. So as we continue our coverage, it'll be interesting if we find even more folks who have stories of what they're finding. Until then, we're going to put a story on clickorlando.com about what we mentioned about how they're already finding some coins. We'll get started there. And in the meantime, we've also got some more damage to look at, some homes that are close to the water that have some structural damage, perhaps we're hearing about a little north of here in Satellite Beach. That's where we're headed next.
All right, James Parvera live with the Goonies out there on the beach.
There's gold in them there beaches.
Looking for the gold of One-Eye Willie. So there you go. Yes, you know, everyone's a little stir crazy, it appears, if they're going out to find treasure. But as James mentioned, there's a lot of folks, enthusiasts, I guess you could call it. Especially, they call it the Treasure Coast for a reason.
Right, and this is the beachcomber, like golden hour, I guess you would say, after everything's been churned up. But we do have crews all across Central Florida covering this storm. But of course, we can't be everywhere.
Yeah, and that's where you come in. The viewers, we've been getting some great pens throughout the morning, and News 6 anchor and insider guide Crystal Moyer has been scrolling through our Pin It page and is here to share some of those pictures. Crystal?
Hey guys, I want to see what those treasure hunters are finding out there. If you're out there right now,
that's their assessment. $400. That's their assessment. Anyone going to pay that? We'll see.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to our Pin It page. Our insiders, of course, have been giving us another perspective on the conditions throughout Central Florida. Some awesome photos that we've been getting and videos on clickorlando.com/pins. So we're going ahead to start with this photo, and it's from one of our insiders near Indialana Beach. If we can go to the next tab there, next tab at the top. At the very top, there's a tab. We'll click on that and show some of the photos that we've been getting from Bicentennial Beach Park. It was actually taken this morning. There we go. And you can see it was during high tide. This was just before 9 a.m. When we saw those high tide conditions. Part of the beach access ramp underwater, and this particular insider said that some parts of that access ramp were swept away by the ocean there. So wow, very dangerous. If you're trying to get out to the beach access, just be careful. You shouldn't be out there, but we need to assess the damage, those emergency crews, before you guys head out there. All right, the next photo was shared by Lupe in Ocala. Can't forget about you out there in Marion County. He said, oh no, did you have a lot of heavy wind and rain? He said the tarp is down. This is near the Ocala National Forest. I commented on that, of course. You can see the tarp on one of his structures came down because of the heavy wind there. So of course we do see a lot of downed trees or debris throughout the area. And of course we'll wait to see some more assessments as we get those damage reports in. And in Brevard County, M. Hilger sent this photo from the golf course of Lake Washington Road in Melbourne. Yikes. You can see here, this is the golf course net being held up by these poles. It looks like the wind and those rainy conditions pushed those down, knocked those out. So now you can see there's a lot of debris out there, a lot of poles that will need to be restructured as they continue to let people out there in golf. It might take a couple days or so for them to get that fixed up. But we do expect quite a few pins once, you know, the day goes on and people start to get out and see what it's looking like in their area. You can always upload from your computer or even your mobile device to our free News 6 Pinpoint weather app, or just head to clickorlando.com/pins. Remember, we only want you to do so if you're safe. Of course, you can hit me up as well on Facebook or Twitter. I'll comment on that, and of course, we'll share them throughout the day right here on News 6. Bridget, Justin.
All right, thanks so much, Crystal. We love to see those updates from the viewers. Appreciate them sending them in. And, you know, flooding is a concern in many areas, Lake County especially as well. Here's some video. The St. Johns River in Astor, this has been a very problematic area. We saw major flooding during Ian, and now the water is rising again. They're making people very nervous, as you can understand. And as our meteorologists have been saying, the flooding may not end up being as bad as Ian, but it could be worse than it was during Irma in 2017, because Astor is now already in major flood stage category.
Yeah, it's a bad situation there. We saw what happened after Hurricane Ian. It's hard to escape those images, and there were still not in that portion of along the St. Johns River, but there were portions along the St. Johns River that still had floodwaters in it from Ian. So this is just adding on top of that. Let's get over to meteorologist Troy Bridges for a look at where the storm is heading now. It's just crazy, Troy, that we are 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving.
I know, right?
We are pinpointing
Wow.
a tropical storm.
Here we go. We're doing it again. And as you guys have been mentioning, this is a cumulative effect from Ian causing all those issues with all the rain that we've already had. Now this rain, even though it's not 20 inches like we saw from Ian, because of all that rain, we're adding on top of it, leading to flooding issues. But our biggest issues really will be those relentless waves up close to 20 feet. And it's also because it's going to take a while before we actually get this system out of here. Nicole will likely stay a tropical storm because it's going to move into the warmer ocean waters of the Gulf of Mexico and not weaken over land very much. Even though it's moved over a good bit of central Florida, it's going to eventually push back into the Gulf of Mexico and then move up into Georgia and eventually weaken. So that is why we're going to continue with these winds that will gust greater than 40 miles per hour into the next several hours. Look at these wave heights. Wave heights up close to 15 to even 20 feet across most of our beaches. Still pinpointing some rain, most of the heaviest rain out in our western sides. We can see it for Lake Sumter and Marion counties, even for parts of Orange County, mainly western Orange County, seeing some rain. There's Apopka on down to downtown Orlando, but most of that's fairly light up into the villages, and then Ocala, a few scattered showers. Palm Coast has seen a few showers, but the good news is we don't have that tornado threat anymore. That does exist far to our north as this continues to spin. But look at these wind gusts. We're talking about more than 40-mile-per-hour gusts. That's tropical storm force. As we head into the afternoon, they're likely to weaken a little bit, but still seeing gusts up to 46 miles per hour right now in Orlando, 47 in Sanford, 37 at Cape Canaveral, and 37 in Melbourne. Let's bring in Candace Campos. She has more on those watches and warnings.
Yes, hurricane warnings have all been discontinued. They are keeping the tropical storm warnings as of the last update just a few minutes ago, with the majority of Central Florida, or I should say all of Central Florida, still under those tropical storm force gusts that we certainly will have that potential for. Rainfall within the last 24 hours, we were talking a lot about it. The grounds are still very saturated. Our waterways are still very swollen from Hurricane Ian. So we don't need any more rain. We really don't at this point in time of the year. But we are getting some. So we have so far between 1 to 5 inches of rainfall throughout most of Central Florida. Of course, there are a couple of isolated spots that could have hit over 5.5 inches, but according to our reporting stations all across Central Florida, we have a lot of viewers who are also weather reporters, so we really appreciate that. You can see about 5.5 inches of rainfall in areas of West Melbourne. Really, the big areas that saw the most rain was actually Brevard and Orange County. You can see Orange County, Orlando, Chuliota, also seeing some heavy amounts of rain. Some parts of Seminole County and Castleberry and Volusia County, Oak Hill, with just under about 4.5 inches of rainfall. Earlier this morning, throughout the overnight, is where we saw the strongest winds. Of course, this is along the immediate coastline. Our winds picked up between about 50 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts for our inland zones, but these were the highest ones. Patrick Force Base, there's 66 mile per hour winds. Playa Linda, upwards of 70 mile per hour wind speed. So certainly a lot of wind and a lot of rain for the last couple of hours. And that's the reason why we still have 78,000 people in Brevard County with power outages, 48,000 in Orlando. It's just a mess out there. Of course, power crews are now starting to head out as those wind speeds start to go down and conditions start to improve. So fingers crossed. And again, thanks to all our linemen who are out there helping us all get back to normal as we head into that weekend. Back to you guys.
No doubt about that. All right, Candace, thank you, and keep it here. Our extended coverage on Nicole continues right after this. Crews at Orlando International Airport say that they're assessing any damage done by the storm. The airport closed yesterday at 4 o'clock and says once they finish going and checking on everything, the airlines, federal officials, and airport leaders will determine a time to reopen the airport. Once we get a word on that, we will, of course, bring that to you straight away because we know how important that is. And our power outage numbers continue to go up.
And we have linemen who are working very hard. At last check, FPL is reporting just under 150,000. Duke reporting 94,000. OUC close to 21,000. And KUA just under 2,000. But by far, the highest number of outages are right now in Brevard County. Those numbers also high just south of there in Indian River and St. Lucie counties. So we're continuing to monitor that situation. Of course, be very careful if there might be down power lines in your area. And breaking within the past 10 minutes, Volusia County Emergency Management said they've extended the curfew till tomorrow morning for areas east of the Intracoastal.
We will have much more coverage on Nicole and a check of the weather when we come back. We hope you stay with us.